The Prophecies of Quetzalcoatl, a new and expanded view. Now, what I propose, based upon a clearer understanding of the prophecies of Quetzalcoatl, is that there were two, not one, appearances of the prophet, with two manifesting, here we are again, in the 13th Toltec Mayan era, which is indicated by the prophecies of the Itzes Maya, and that indeed the prophet by indications of recent discoveries in North America was the very same Yeshua ben Joseph, or Joseph, the Nazarene, who came to reunite the tribes of Israel, and was a priest or priestess in the order of Aaron. See the Ark of the Covenant in the Hall of Records at the end of this manuscript. I will share that eventually, or Google it. We know that during the latter part of the 15th century, there appeared among the Itzes Maya a famous seer or prophet by the name of Chilam Balam, who is said to be fair of complexion and coming from the region of the Mayan lands known today as Guatemala. We are told that he prophesied many things about the future apocalyptic events, laying them out in the calendar wheel of the Mayans, according to his knowledge of the calendars. He foretold the returning of the younger brother, i.e., the white man, the irreverent ones who were sent away, and he described the times in which they would arrive. He even went so far as to give details of the diseases and methods of war they would bring, and gave the dates of great disasters that actually came true according to his calculations through the Mayan calendar. Now, the Venus calendar proves to be an excellent tool for time computation. It has been used for this purpose since ancient times and continues to be the vehicle for cyclic predictions according to the reliable timeline concerning natural events and phenomena. Venus circles the sun on an inside orbit and makes, holy mackerel, here it is again, and makes 13 revolutions to 8 of the Earth's. Interesting numbers. Whew. Therefore, in cycles of 8, 13-year cycles, or 104 years, they are back in the originating position of their cycles. It appears that many Native Americans use the half cycle of 52 years when predicting cycles, as in the 13 Lords of Light and the 9 Lords of Darkness. Interesting. This understanding was spread throughout the Americas by the Pale Prophet as he taught and traveled. Now, we have dark times in latter days. Keep in mind we are following the Mayan premise here that Quetzalcoatl and Chilam Balam, by all indications, were one and the same. The prophet Quetzalcoatl foresaw the coming of this present reign of darkness and destruction, where mankind would be going through their rage as the final days grew closer and closer. About those coming times, which are these times at the turning of this millennium. The prophet said this, air quoting here, "For 5 full cycles of the dawn star, the rule of the warlike strangers will grow unto greater and greater orgies of death and destruction." Funny, orgies of death and destruction. It's not funny, but interesting word choice there. "Remember well all that I have taught you. Remember, do not forget. Return not to the serpent and the sacrificers." Don't shed blood. Do not sacrifice in the name of, killing in the name of, right? "Their path will lead only to the last destruction." Secondly, he said this. She said this. It's not gender. It's gender neutral. It has to be. I'm reading, but I'm changing it. We're reading, technically. "Know that the end will come in 5 full cycles of the dawn star." 5 is the difference between the Earth's number being 8, meaning frequency, and that of the dawn star, which is the number of these children of destruction. There exists a book of his prophecies, referred to today as, air quoting, the book of the jaguar priest, end of air quote. I have seen 2 versions, one newer and one older of the book, although I have never been able to locate one in print and available for purchase across the counter. The book of the jaguar priest, according to the story surrounding it, was created by Spanish-educated Mayans and rendered not into Latin script, but into the Mayan language we see commonly used today. The oldest and apparently most authentic of these translations is called Book of Chilam Balam of Tizimin. And it has the extraordinary prophecies we are going to quote here. It is quite evident that Chilam Balam foretold the people that they would fall into decadence, and their great knowledge would be lost to them for a while. Remember, what's done in the dark will be brought to the light, not hidden in plain sight. To the light. It's not always going to be pretty either. Buckle up. He told them of the destruction of their great empire. He as well told them about the terrible days that would follow, where the Mayan people themselves would have to suffer and endure the rule of the returning younger brother. Remember, that would be the white man, the colonists, returning colonists, because there was some white folk here before. They were Vikings, Scandinavian, maybe not human. We don't know. Who's to say? I'll continue reading and not rambling. So, basically the Mayan people are being told that they're going to have to suffer and endure the rule of the returning younger brother from across the oceans, where he had been sent long ago, so they came back. Now, the Mayans say in their legends that the younger brother, the irreverent one, reverend, was sent away because he did not respect the earth, nor take responsibility for the guardianship and duties that were inherited by mankind in its caretaking. Pardon my tone if it's a little fierce. I'm doing the best I can to keep it in balance, the frequency. But, roll with it, I guess, because I don't like putting a lid on it. The younger was prone to emotional outbursts and was a war-loving creature. He was sent away from the motherland that he might learn through playing out his own destructive energies elsewhere. Yes, this sounds much like the Kogi story from Colombia. Chilam Balam, although delivering some rather severe prophecies, also gives the Mayan hope, telling them that one day their ancient glory would return, that many of the initiates under his instruction were being sent into the future to help restore this ancient knowledge, and in a distant time would be successful, that the beauty and the grace of their empire would return along with him in a distant time, after the destructive tendencies of mankind and their misuse of their dreaming abilities had been corrected. This was all a process emphasized by certain acts of genetic manipulation committed by dissident factions of the Star Brothers, who were not necessarily friendly to our species. Their leader and most of his forces had been driven off and moved to the below world. This, along with references to what amounts to be a war of the heavens, God pitted against God. There were terrible battles, leaving most of the old world completely destroyed, with the exception of the few remaining temples of learning in the area we know today as Mayaland, being southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and parts of Ecuador. Ecuador. Mankind, as a result of these wars and the genetic manipulation, was destined to go through several cycles of the negative destructive energies, as well as periods of great growth and enlightenment. The destructive energies would not be easily overcome. At the time of the culmination of these cycles, the Lords of Light, those from beyond the sun, would return. In this future time, we would be after a time of complete tyranny, when all seemed lost and beyond repair. There would be the emergence of a new spiritual understanding that would come about mysteriously to all upon the earth. After a period of great struggle, the former grandeur of the Mayan culture and its true teachings would be restored. Will be restored, we should say. As if all that happened in between were but a dream. And I shall say, within a dream. There are legends perpetuating through contemporary times about those special priests and initiates who were sent into the future to correct the things resulting from the age of destruction, and who would bring this new spirituality forth anew. In this new time, Chilam Balam would also be returning with a host from the heavens after 14 days of light. This new spirituality would be very different from the dead religions of the past, yet it would feel strangely familiar by all it touched and all who came to embrace it. The civilization of the Mayan, as well as their great knowledge and splendor of living, would be restored by the future priests of this new religion. Once again, through their great temples of learning, This new understanding would bring the entire world into harmony. And they would see a golden age emerge upon this earth like has never before been known. For at this time, mankind, many different kinds of mankind would take their rightful place amongst the many nations of the cosmos. He himself would appear to had priorly, I guess you could say, chosen a few. Those who kept the original teachings close to their hearts prior to the times of terrible destruction and decay. Next, I will be reading, it's titled The Chilambalam. I might be saying that wrong, but wrapping this manuscript up, and here is something I'm reading on the other page. It's interesting because a friend, I would even call him distant family in New Orleans, said to me, in the Kesh Alakin, I love you, I love myself. If I do harm to you, I do harm to myself. And I'm seeing it here on page 175 of the manuscript, Days of Destiny. So, aho family. Stay strong. Don't hit that snooze button. I have to remind myself not to do that. And we aren't alone. Let love be thy weapon.